you guys a question about Mo Salah. Obviously, he overtook Aguero today in the all-time goal-scoring list. That's his second Premier League title for you. He's had his greatest season in a Liverpool shirt. Where does he rank for you lot? Because it's only you guys really can place him. Where does he rank in terms of Liverpool legends in your opinions? I'm just and I'm talking overall pre Premier League as well, because there was loads of pictures today on the screens. Alan Hansen was there, Ian Rush, Dalglish. Like, where do you guys put Mo Salah now that he's got that second Premier League, coupled with the season that he's had?
How many did Aguero win? Can you remind us? How many Premier
He
Leagues
overtook Aguero's top 6 record. Not,
he overtook him. He's now sixth in the Premier League. Sorry.
Yeah, in terms of
how many Premier Leagues did Aguero win? You said Mo Salah has 2. So how many does Aguero have?
I don't know. You tell us. You know. But it's 5. So it's okay for you to talk about. It's okay for you to talk about. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Kel, why is it okay for you to talk about things that are bigger and not us? What's going on here? That ain't fair. But in terms of where Salah ranks in Liverpool legends,
if you're going to bring up Salah has 2, I have to just.
Yeah, but we're talking about where
Liverpool players.
But we're talking about where he ranks amongst Liverpool legends, not Premier League legends, like within Liverpool's own hierarchy.
Okay.
I feel like Rax should answer that.
Terrace, I've got a lot of love here.
Because you watched Hansen and stuff.
And I've been on the channel for years and years and years. As much as I love you, I see what you try. Right. I will always say Steven Gerrard is one of my favourite ever players I have ever watched, right? In terms of, I seen that man drag us through drag teams that were nowhere near good enough to be competing for, yet alone the top 4, yet alone big trophies. And he dragged us because he was the player that he was. But I know why you do it. And I'm just going to give it you now, okay? Mohamed Salah in the Premier League is our best player in the Premier League. He's won 2 Premier League titles. The goals that he scored, the season that he's had this season, he's going to go on and be the most goal contributions. He's, like we've just said, he's just moved into the top 5 of all-time Premier League goal scorers. I genuinely believe that he'll go above Andy Cole, who's next. I think he'll also go above Wayne Rooney by the time that he's done in Liverpool. The goals that this man scores is phenomenal. That's the answer you wanted. You finally got it. There you go.
No, do you know what? No, it's not about that for me. I'm thinking more about something Jamie Carragher said a few weeks ago, where Jamie Carragher spoke about him potentially even taking over from Dalglish. And I thought that was a massive thing for Carragher to say. He signed that new deal now. He's broke these records. Is that something within the Liverpool fan base that you guys feel is achievable? Or is that maybe, and again, I'm not trying to put Salah down or Dalglish down. I just want to,
It depends what generation you speak to, because, for example, like my grandparents, like my grandparents and stuff like not only watched him as a player, but then watched him become a player manager, and then watched him. I think he won 8 league titles with us. So, and not just as a player, but as a manager as well. So to them, he will always be their greatest ever player. Our generation and my generation, which I'm talking about, I've watched this man destroy teams. People say that he's not the best to look at. He's a stat merchant. Well, I'm not being funny. I'd rather have a stat merchant that scores a stupid amount of goals and assists a stupid amount of goals. Then you can fuck off with your Eden Hazard argument. You can shove that right down your throat, because no one cares about that anymore. Like, and this whole Chelsea propaganda, like, oh, Caicedo, he's going to give us a guard of honour in the next couple of weeks, so good luck with that. So it's, for me, Salah's the best player I've seen in the Premier League. And for me, from a Liverpool point of view, I would put him first, because I never seen Dalglish, whereas the older generation would put Dalglish just because of and I'm talking, this man is a legend. We've got a stand named after him. The way he conducted himself and the way he handled himself with the whole Hillsborough tragedy, he was going to every funeral. So I understand why a lot of people would find it tough to remove him from number 1.
I agree with that part, by the way, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask a question, because I thought at the time Carragher said it, I was like, I got where he was coming from, But then Sky've got this habit. I think there's always a lot of recency bias on Sky, and I get it because they want the audience to remain like now's always got to be the best. And we see this again another 10 years' time, that'll be the best. And the next 10 years, that'll be the best. But I think, as you say with Dalglish, that element connected to the tragedies that are connected to your club. And as much as we'd all love a magic wand to wipe away the tragedies, and that's something both our clubs share, very intertwined with that, there is a connection. For instance, with Sir Bobby Charlton, I almost feel there's nothing any player could ever do to surpass him because
it's beyond football.
It's beyond football. Absolutely, it's beyond football, and I totally agree with that take. I really, really do. And look, I just think it's a credit to Mo Salah, and the reason I also say that is I know I've had fun with it over the years with the Gerrard stuff, more so with Hassam than anybody, if I'm being honest. But I'll be honest with you all.
That's why I didn't come off mute. I'm not going to give you what you want.
No, it's not about giving me what. It's not about giving me what I want. Sometimes I'm having a laugh. I'm having a serious conversation now. I'm not Sky Sports. I can tell you when I'm bantering and laugh, and then I know that. For me, though,
Sky is trying to be like you anyway with all the research.
Sky that's all they do is copy. That's all they do. That's all they do is copy. Give me their budgets, and I will blow them out the water. 110%. But for me, I look at it this way. I think, again, not every club understands this. Your club has a history that's not hundreds, but like decades and decades and decades and decades old. It goes back over 100 years, right? To have a player in the modern day era who is challenging the supremacy of legends that are 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years old, I think that's such a beautiful thing for a club to have. It means something amazing is going on in the here and now, if that makes sense. And this isn't a dig. It's very easy for City to pick its greatest ever players. They had a decent team in the 60s, and the last 10 years has been that. City fans won't understand this to the same degree until there's a certain generation might a little bit, but it's when their next great team comes along, and suddenly there's a generation saying, Joe Bloggs, so much better than KDB, and then Kelsey and they're going, nah, because we did this. But I think it's a beautiful thing when you find that moment where there's a new group of players that are challenging for that supremacy. And I rate Mo Salah.
We already have that debate between Silva and KDB.
Yeah, already just a little bit. Already just a little bit.
But can I just mention?
So I just think it's a really powerful and beautiful thing when a club goes through that. And I've just always felt, for me, I've always felt the most underrated player in Premier League history was Michael Carrick, but Mo Salah actually, it's only been the last couple of years he's finally got his flowers from people, and I think that's why I've pushed it so hard. I always felt he was massively disrespected as a football player, Mo Salah, and I think for the last 7-8 years he should have been the poster boy of your football club. I'm glad to see he's getting his flowers now because he's just a phenom. He's an absolute phenom.
He's had a great season. I give him a lot of credit. So congrats, Mo Salah. You've had a great season.
Can I just mention something on Mo before I go? The big difference I see with Mo, and I get all the legends, Mo's playing against supreme athletes now. Like the other guys were playing against gamblers and alcoholics who used to have pies at half time.
No.
You know what I mean?
I hear you. I've got a counter argument. I've got a counter argument, right?
I live in Nevada, so that's what I
counter argue. I get your argument, right? Because I said that to my dad once, and my dad went, "Yeah, but they were all drunks and gamblers." The thing is, it's vice versa, isn't it? Like, yeah, I hear you. We've got a few super chats here, and obviously some of them will throw to you guys on the panel to go through. This here says, league now is reduced. Is the league good? No, it's getting like Germany and France league. I don't rate today's football at all. Quality is crap. Not a patch on the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
I don't
how are you saying this is like?
French league is really fun.
How are you saying this is like the German league and the French league? When
fun to watch.
First of all, Bayern won 11 in a row.
There's only one team in each league.
The maximum is City with 4 in a row. Bayern won 11 in a row. That alone is just debunked already. And French league has not even 5% of the money that the English league have. I think if you take Bournemouth, they would finish second in the French league. So this debate, this argument is completely. This has nothing to do with Liverpool winning the league, by the way. I'm just talking overall quality here.
But also just thinking logically, right? When you talk about football in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, football is just different now, right? It's much more focused on athletic prowess and technique is of paramount importance as well, but that's just because the league is so much faster. Honestly, if you go back and watch a game from the 90s or from the 80s, there were great teams in that period. Liverpool had great teams in that period. United had great teams. But the pace that they played at, and part of it was down to the pitches, but part of it's just down to the fact that now physical prowess is of paramount. If you're not a prime athlete, you aren't going to make it in football these days. How many? Maybe you could argue maybe Cole Palmer, and bear in mind, he's only had one good season and one very average season. If you're speaking about Chelsea fans, who I think he's the only player who would say is not a supreme athlete. Any of the other top players who play week in, week out, and play a really high, you have to be a top athlete. And football is just different like that. And you can't change that. I'm sorry. One more thing. If you want to go back to the football of the 80s and the 90s, it's not going to happen. You better watch. You better get your VCR out.
But why are you saying this? Why are you saying this is the point? The whole reason why they're saying this is purely because they need an agenda whenever Liverpool win the league. So when we won it in COVID, it's COVID, it doesn't count. Now we've won the league, it's the league's not good enough and it's nowhere what it used to be, etc., because they cannot allow themselves to admit that this moment is heartbreaking.
I think it will happen next year. If we don't win the league next year, I think it will also happen next year. I think people always hark back to an era from a bygone era.
It won't.
Fans will always try and take away from each other, and that's it. Like I experienced it. There are a few clubs that get called out for things that we might legitimately be able to take things away from them with, but we will see how that comes out. But football does change. I was listening to Joe Cole talk yesterday, and he was saying that he's doing his coaching, and he was at some of the academies. And you see this now in pro football, but what they're teaching the kids to do, the way they make them play, Gary Neville always calls it out. It's too slow. But Joe Cole was saying that one of the techniques they now have is that the players slow the game down, and it's almost like they're trying to attract prey, and it's for someone to step out and make a mistake, and then bang, they explode the way a snake would attack its prey, quiet and slow, doesn't move, and then bang when it can strike,
like a leopard in the tree.
Like a leopard in a tree. Yeah, it's a great analogy. So look, I hear you. Look, football just goes through the eras. But if you're winning in this era playing this way, I don't think you'll complain as much. Zane here says, congratulations, Liverpool. Unlike Arsenal, you actually capitalized on City's downfall. As a Milan fan, I need to big up Lautaro, the best Argentinian to play for Inter ever. And come Wednesday, Visca Barca, baby.
That was meant for Mo.
Can you imagine? Come on, tonight, McTominay, get yourself a little brace,
mate. Bottle the league, Mo is going to have to go. He's going to go.
JJ here says, Terry, you seem to put Arsenal on a pedestal. They don't belong. When did they last win the league? It's only Liverpool and City you become the championship bracket. Well, I haven't predicted at the beginning of the last 3 seasons. I've not predicted Arsenal to win the Premier League.
Someone on this panel did.
Yeah, I didn't predict them to win any of the leagues. The only time I did is halfway through that first title challenging season under Arteta, when they had that gap. I thought they would go on to win it. I've called Liverpool the best team in the world. They were, City were the team I predicted to win the league. So when you say put them on a championship bracket, I quite literally have only in the last 5 years predicted Liverpool or City to win the league. I haven't done that once for Arsenal. So that's just simply... I respect you, bro, and thanks for your comment, but what you've just said just isn't true. The only difference being is I won't, when people say things that are duplicitous, in the same way as on the show I've defended Liverpool, the same way as I've defended Mo Salah, no one's calling me a secret Liverpool fan for doing those things and not joining in with the banter. Just seems to be when I do it for Arsenal, it's a problem, and I'm not too sure why that is. United and Spurs are only in the Europa semis because no Champions League group stage losers dropped down. This year to the Europa League. Context matters to Sam. Is it only this year? I swear.
But the reason why it's not a good point is because before, Terry himself will tell you this. Before Man United played Sociedad, people spoke like it was a foregone conclusion and Sociedad's going to emulate Man United. Same thing before Lyon. When Tottenham Hotspur were about to take on Frankfurt, they're like, oh, Frankfurt going to eliminate Spurs. It didn't happen. So that's why for me, it's not about the Champions League teams falling down into the Europa League. It's not about that, because the quality in itself in the Europa League of other teams that are non-English does not compare with even the quality of Spurs and Man United, who are 16th, 15th.
Yeah. Listen, it's there's some really good teams in the Prem. Just a lot of teams ain't turned up.